Hello folks, in the last section we talked about Git tool, how the Git is used in DevOps ecosystem, what are the various features and how it stands out from other source code management tools. Now today we'll talk about the installation and configuration of Git. We will install Git on our system, we will create an empty repository on github.com and we will see how to work with that. Now remember, when we talk about repository, there are two kinds of repositories. One is remote repository and another is local repository. So in remote repository, you have all the common code base which is located on some remote server. Now in our case, in this tutorial, we are using github.com as a remote repository. So keep that in mind. Now what do we need? We need a Linux-based system where we'll be installing Git first, and then we'll create a folder where we'll be writing our own some dummy code, and then we will upload it on the remote repository, right? So another thing what we need is of course internet connection and your account on github.com. So creating an account on github.com is very easy. It's just like creating another social account on something like facebook.com, etc. Even easier than that. And then we'll be creating repository on github.com. So let's open github.com in our browser. So this is my account. You need to click on this plus button to create a repository of your own. So we are going to create a new repository which would be empty initially. Click on new repository. Give this a name. So I'm calling it EdYoda. Give some description to this repository. A test repository. Now there are two kinds of repository, public and private. Of course, public means your code would be visible to others. The good thing is you can create unlimited public repositories on github.com. Then you have private repositories. Private means of course your code would not be visible to anybody, but it's chargeable. Now let me reiterate that again, that github.com is one website which is hosting the code for you. There are multiple such services like you have Bitbucket, AWS has a code commit service. All of them are using Git in the backend and they are just providing you an environment where you can host your code. So GitHub is just an example. So you can initialize your repository with the readme.md file, which generally describes that what is the purpose of your repository. If you want readme.md in your repository, you can just click here. You have something called .git ignore. So if there are some type of file that you never want to send it into your repository, you should put it into .git ignore. We'll be coming into that later. So right now I'm going to create an empty repository. Click on the create repository button. So you'll be getting some instruction which is for, you can link your local repository to the remote one. Let's go back to our system. So I'm using an Amazon Linux system where I don't have any Git etc. configured yet, neither it is installed. So first thing is I'll go and install Git. So I'm using yum package manager to install Git. Let's say yum install Git. It's asking for you to confirm, give Y. That's it. You can check it out whether Git is working or not by using something called like git -version. So we have Git version 2.13 installed on it. The next thing is we have to create a folder, putting some files into it, and then we will be uploading it on the repository that we just created. So here, let me create a directory first with the name EdYoda. Go inside the directory. Now this is empty as of now. We'll be creating some files into it. Let's create file 1.c. Write something into it. Okay. Save the file. Let's create one more file. Suppose we are writing code in C. So file 1.c, file 2.c. Save this as well. So now we have a directory EdYoda where I have two files, file 1.c and file 2.c. We can also create a readme.md file here itself. This tells you the description about the repository. This is a test repository to learn Git basics. Fine, so right now I have total 3 files into it. Now remember, we have just created a directory. Till now we have not done anything with Git other than installation. Now if I want to work in this directory, this is my working directory, I need to initialize it with Git. So for that the command is git init. When you do git init, what it does is, it creates the infrastructure for making this directory as your local repository. If you do ls, you won't see any change, but if you do ls-a, directory has been created. You can see this .git. You can go inside this directory and look at these other directories and files that are created. Now these files are not to be touched. They are created and managed by your Git commands only. So this is basically the local repository infrastructure. It helps you get the various versions and various history of your files. So just move out of it. Now we have 3 files in this particular directory and we have to upload it to a remote repository which we have created on github.com. So first thing is, add all these files into a local repository. The command for that is git add. If you give dot, it means all the files. We can do it individually, like doing git file 1.c and do git add file 2.c, or if you want, you can add all which is there in the repository in just a single go. So I'll do git add dot. Now the files has been added in the local repository, but remember they have not been committed. When you commit, then it creates a version of your file. So to do that, I am going to commit them. So till now they are in your working directory and they have been indexed, but when you do commit -m, it creates a version and puts it into your local repository. So we have committed all these changes that we have done. I'll just clear it up. Once we have local repository ready, we have to now connect it to our remote repository. So command for that is git remote add origin, and then you have to give the URL of your remote repository. So this is our URL. Copy this and paste it here. So it has added the repository. Now once it is added, remember all the changes are still in my local repository. We have just connected remote and local, but we have not pushed our changes to the remote one. So for that the command is git push origin master. We are pushing it on the master branch. It will ask for your login and password, because remember, even if it is a public repository, I can still manage that who can commit the change in my repository. So I'll write here username that I've given on github.com, then the password. Once it is done, it's now pushing my code to the remote repository. Right? You can see here counting objects 5, compressing the objects, writing the objects. It's 100% done. and then it's pushing it to the master branch of your repository. So good thing about Git is that it describes what it is doing. You can read out all these outputs. It's very informative, and it is a way to learn Git. So let's see. If you just refresh this page, you'll see all the files that you had in your local repository. They are now visible here. You can see there has just been one commit. That means one change. There is just one branch as of now, which is master branch. We have not created any release as of yet, so it is 0 release. And since only I am contributing to this, so you have just one contributor. You can see all what is done. So 4 minutes ago, there was an initial commit. As a part of that commit, you have changes in these 3 files. You can look into the content of it by just clicking here. Right? You can see your readme.md file, which by the way you can see on the home page itself. Just explore this dashboard and you'll find that there are so many interesting things, and using all this setting etc., we do connect Git to other tools. So that's it for today. Let's recap what we have done. We installed Git on our Unix system. We created an empty directory on our Unix system. Then on github.com we created an empty repository. Then we created some files in our local repository on our system, and then we pushed our codes from our local repository to the remote repository. So now anybody who has access to internet, he can see what you have uploaded on your repository because it's a public one. So that's it for today. In the next lecture, we'll be going into details of what we did, like git add commands, git commit command, what do they really mean, and we'll be working on modifying these files, creating multiple versions, and so many other things. So till then, enjoy. Bye bye.